Wrexham really gave me a bit of encouragement the second half. When I looked at the way we played, the way we passed the ball around, the movement was completely different, and we dominated that second half. But we were so passive in the first half that why do we do that? If we can do it in the second half, why can't we do it? I mean, these are professional footballers that should be able to run around for 90 plus minutes. So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. Now, we all saw the hype at the start of the season about Birmingham City getting a double promotion and we were going to run through the league because of the record-breaking season we had in League One and all these fantastic players we were signing. But as we know, we've been in the Championship many, many years prior to our relegation to League One. We know this is a tough league. And in this podcast, myself and Matt are going to discuss where we realistically think we will compete in the table this season, where we might end up. Now, I put a community post out a few days ago on our YouTube page and had over 500 votes on that. And Matt, I'm going to give you the results of that poll, asking Blues fans where they think, forget the hype I said, but just tell us where, based upon what you've seen so far in the early parts of the season, where do you think we'll end up? So, top 6, 25%. Now, remember, this had a 500 votes, 515 last time I looked. Top 6, 25%. Mid-table, 64%. Bottom half, 9%. Relegation, 2%.
Who's that grumpy 2%? Identify yourself in the comments.
Well, actually, interestingly, it could be a non-Blues fan. Now, I specifically only put it on our YouTube channel because I know the vast majority of people that watch our channel are Blues fans. If I'd have put it on X or anything like that, I'd have had fans from, of course, all over.
You'd have had Villa fans trolling it, Dad, saying relegation.
Yeah,
relegation,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think the poll is reflective of what. So just to repeat, top 6, 25%, mid-table, 64%, bottom half, 9%, relegation, 2%. So what do you think about that?
That's a pretty substantial win for mid-table, isn't it? 60.
Well, if you add them together, it's 89% think we'll finish mid-table or above.
Yeah, so that's pretty significant, isn't it?
That's
pretty damning of where the fan base think we are.
Yeah.
And, I think as a fan, watching Blues now over the course of the start of this season, I think we have shown glimpses. I think we have the team to finish in the top 6 individually here. We have the team, I think, to make a push for the playoffs. I think it's there. I think the players are there. I think we have the core fundamentals. But the big word that comes to my mind at the minute is consistency. And not just consistency in week to week to week, consistency over the course of 90 minutes. We've shown glimpses in games, haven't we? We've had moments in games where we look good, but that's not good enough in the Championship. Yeah. You need to have that over the 90 minutes. I think Chris Davies is still finding out his starting 11. He's figuring out who's going to be the best player in each position. I think the Championship is proving a significant step up. I think even only going down to League One, Dad, I'm guilty of it. I forgot how good teams are at this level already just from having that League One experience last season. So I'll give my definitive answer as the podcast goes on about where we might finish. But just as an opening kind of statement from me, I think we have got the team to do very well this season. It's consistency and getting a bit of momentum. I think we've struggled to really get momentum this season. So far, we're 9 games in. It's still very early doors,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
What are your thoughts, Dad?
Well, I think we're 9 games in, as you mentioned, Matt, and I think that our new signings haven't really started firing yet. So we haven't seen the benefit of the new signings. We've had glimpses from Dimmy. He's probably been the most obvious one that's contributed and scored a goal, and he's been
looks
positive.
Dangerous.
He looks dangerous. I like the look of Patrick Roberts as well.
Yeah.
I think he's done well, and we know that Kyogo has had plenty of chances, hasn't scored yet, but I think he's going to come good. Marvin Dukes has been injured or Dukes. Sorry, it's Dukes, isn't it? Injured all the time. Fujimoto we haven't seen, and we can go through the players. So all these players that we brought in over the summer, we haven't really yet seen the benefit of them, in my opinion. And once they start firing, I think that's when we'll start to see a big improvement or an uptake in our form. I like the look of Jack Robinson at the back as well. I know he got sent off. I get that against Coventry. But I like the left footer, the solidness, the experience. We look a lot better with him in the team. Look more balanced, don't we? And solid. He's not a perfect player. He's got lack of pace on occasions, but he's experienced. So my point is that, we sit, as we, at time of recording, 16th in the league table, 12 points off our first 9 games. And I think that is just an okay start, but I think we now need to start to pick up points. Yeah. But it's going to be determined by our new signings actually starting to show us a bit.
Also, I think it's worth mentioning as well, there are external forces outside of how we play football and results that play a part in here. Injuries play a part in your season. Refereeing decisions play a part in your season. So, remember the Hull handball away?
Oh, yes.
If that wouldn't have counted, we'd have probably stayed up, wouldn't we?
This is season before last when we got relegated, Matt's talking about.
Yeah, there was a dodgy handball. Yeah. But the point still stands. Things happen in football.
People will think you're a clairvoyant because we're playing Hull next time. What's he talking about? We got to play Hull and Matt's talking about handball. Yeah, it wouldn't be funny if they actually scored. No, it wouldn't be funny, but that happens again.
Yeah, duplicated goal. But but my point still stands, though, that there are things that you can't control in football that happen all the time, isn't there?
Yeah, I think you mentioned injuries as well, Matt. At the time of recording, we've obviously got injuries to Ethan Laird now. We've picked up a few early season injuries, but we always thought that we'd have the squad to cope with that. But of course, bright to say Samuel was injured as well, and hopefully he'll be back soon. But you are right. So if you get those injuries in the same positions, it does stretch the resources that we have, but all that can influence where we end up. But I think again we can't not talk about like the hype that happened in the summer and about the signings, and a lot of that came from the media. And it was some of our fans getting on board. Even I got wrapped up in it. I think we're signing great players and stuff like that. But the reality is that we know the Championship is such a notoriously competitive league. The saying that anybody can beat anybody can't be any more true than the Championship, and there's a lot of factors that go into being able to be promoted. And I think the hype was over the top. When you look back, it was over the top. We had nothing to base it on because we hadn't played a game by then. But that doesn't mean we're not a good team. It means that we have bought good quality players, but we haven't seen the best of them yet. And I think that's where, over the next couple of months, I'm hoping that our new players will have a bit of game time, get rid of niggly injuries, and start to push on.
There's also been a few glaring issues, Dad, even in these first 9 games. Individual errors come to mind. Again, there's no point in naming players here because we've done that in the post-match reviews of any given game. But that's
Blues fans will know who you're talking about.
But that's a big factor. If you don't cut out individual mistakes, you are going to get punished every single week and lose games. The set pieces, definitely a red alarm. I know a lot of Blues fans will relate to this. Every time the opposition gets a corner, my adrenaline genuinely kicks in. I think we're going to concede. That is not a good feeling, and you cannot continue on that trajectory if you want to be a successful Championship team. And on the reverse of that, attacking set pieces, I think we're really just underwhelming. We don't do anything with them. And the big thing for me, Dad, and I know we've spoken about this in the Wrexham game, and Blues fans get it as well, is the tempo. If we can up the tempo in the final third, we look really dangerous when we go at teams. When we impose ourselves, start shifting it quickly, moving off the ball. Teams don't know how to handle us a lot of the time. We saw it in the second half against Wrexham. So all you want to see is pick up the tempo, keep that movement going. And Chris Davies, Dad, against Wrexham, you saw him on the halfway line. He was barking, saying, move, 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 So I'm hoping, at the time of recording, we're at an international break. I'm hoping they're working a few things out on the training pitch in that regard. But I have no doubt, and I still stand by it, if we can nurture some of these things, cut out the errors, set pieces, tempo, all these different things, we will be a dangerous team. The form will come. And let's not forget last season in League One, Dad, it took us some time. I stand by it. November was the time we started firing in League One. We were still winning games, but we weren't really a solid unit with a solid starting 11, I would say, until about November time.
No, that's true. That is true. But I think one thing you mentioned there, and again, we have mentioned this, and it really is key, is tempo. Now, a lot of, us look at the football sometimes and get frustrated with this passing the ball backwards and sideways, right? But often, if you break that down and really analyse it and have a look when that's happening, it's because there's no options.
Exactly.
And that comes down to tempo again, doesn't it? And we, like I say, Wrexham really gave me a bit of encouragement the second half. When I looked at the way we played, the way we passed the ball around, the movement was completely different, and we dominated that second half. But we were so passive in the first half that why do we do that? If we can do it in the second half, why can't we do it? I mean, these are professional footballers that should be able to run around for 90 plus minutes. Yeah. So
do you reckon they got a rocket at half time?
I think. I mean, Chris Davies would never say that because he's always got to come out supporting his players. The only person who criticises his players is Troy Deeney when he was manager. Remember that? but you're not going to destroy your players. But I think behind closed doors, he'll be having a word with them and say, look, that you saw what you did in the second half. I want to see options of movement. You look at the top teams like the Man Cities, the Chelseas, the Liverpools. There's always an option. There's always a player available for that ball. We get stuck when they've got no options, and then they have to play it back because it's better to keep possession than it is to give the ball away. So this is what's really
You even
key.
see it from throwing to Blues, Dad. You know, sometimes when Cochrane has the ball, he's obviously left back, he's got the ball, and there's no one.
Oh, that frustrates
He's
me.
like this, and he's like, there's no one
That
moving.
frustrates the life
How
out of
can
him.
you not lose your man for a throw-in?
Yeah.
You know, to create an easy option. It
Oh,
really
things like that really bug me. It's like you know, when we Sheffield Wednesday, you know, we were 2-1 down in injury time.
Yeah.
Got a corner, and you know, we bless him, Dimmy. He's not no excuse either, Matt. There's two big scoreboards with a big clock on them as well, so you got no excuse. But that type of thing frustrates me.
No,
but,
I agree. I agree.
But what I'm just going to read out a few, because obviously with the poll, a few people left a few comments.
go
So
for it.
I picked out a few.
Go
So
for it,
get
yeah.
your thoughts on these, and see what people who voted in the poll actually said. So Danny Green said, I do think we will finish top 10. Okay, don't think we'll be in the playoffs. Might work in our favour though, and make Tom Wagner angry, so he might have deeper pockets in the next transfer window.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that. But obviously, the transfer window is much more than about the depth of Tom Wagner's pockets. It's about what we can do within the actual financial rules and
Yes, of
regulations. Okay.
On that note, Dad, Tom Wagner said at Wrexham, I know all Blues fans would have heard this by now, he said that Chris Davies has the full backing and support of the board.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that if come January we need to fill a few gaps to push on to the next level. I think, although again, I think that comment is maybe slightly tongue-in-cheek at the end there with Wagner's comment, but I think they will invest if they can, depending on the financial rules and where we sit. You know, I have no doubt he'll put his hand in his pockets if there's certain gaps we need to fill, but let's see where we are.
Yeah,
you know, come
Well,
January.
it's good that he comes out and supports Chris, because that's what Chris Davies needs. He needs support, needs encouragement, and you know this hype about him. You know, he's got to go and stuff like that. I do find a little bit.
I don't get that.
I don't quite understand that. And again, we've always said on this channel, we're not criticising people who said that, because you are entitled to your opinion. We just don't agree with it. You know, so if you think that Chris Davies should go and you really genuinely think that, you're entitled to think that. But from my point of view, and I know Matt thinks the same. I think he's going to take us where we need to be.
To the
He
Premier League,
just needs a
as
bit of
the
time.
song goes.
There's a song about that. Another comment from Steve G, not Stevie Gerrard, but it might be. He might be a Blue supporter secretly. But Steve G says, "Have always thought the hype has come from those perhaps have seen a splash of cash and perhaps words from the owners that have perhaps been taken out of context. Assuming promotion is given this, and that they are assuming that promotion is given this season." A solid future is built on good foundations. I like this, and I think this as well. As you know, so you need to build foundations, and and the other thing as well, Matt. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit more from Steve there, but just on that point there, what do we do? Do you know? Do we have a push and then get to the Premier League and not have the opportunity to build? Probably struggle to stay in that league then and come straight back down again. You know, and then do you, like Ipswich did that, didn't they? Went up, and everyone thought they'd do well when they went up. They didn't. They got relegated back again. But I suppose they're now sort of building again, aren't they? So once you've got those parachute payments, you just keep going. But the point that Steve's making now, which I do like, you know, a solid future is built on good foundations.
Look at Leeds and Sunderland. And I know it's early days in the Premier League. I totally get that. They could end up slipping down and being annihilated over the course of who knows what's going to happen in the Premier League. But they seem to have made a decent start. And that comes down to having that core foundation in the Championship. They didn't get promoted straight away. It took them a couple of years. They built. And then suddenly you crack on and push on from there, don't you?
Yeah.
I think that's a good model of doing it. And I think that comment raises a lot of very valid points. I think the hype was, especially during that week when Dimmy was in, Tommy Doyle was in. You know, we had that real big week, didn't we? Kyogo came in. It was just relentless of signings.
Yeah.
I think a lot of fans genuinely felt, you know, we're going to the Premier League. You know, we're genuinely putting our money where our mouth is when you think about Kyogo and the money we invested there. But I think we've all bought into it. Me and you were guilty of it, Dad. We've definitely bought into the hype and thought, you know, we're going to have an amazing season.
Yeah.
And we still might.
Yeah.
9 games in, you know, it's still early doors. But
Exactly. Well, we'll get your thoughts and my thoughts in a moment about where
Yeah.
we think we'll finish in the league based upon where we're at the moment. But I think we could look as a benchmark, you know, the 3 Bs in the Premier League, Bournemouth, Brighton and Brentford. They're all clubs that when they went into that league all were expected to come straight back down, and they've just built and built and built, and they've recruited in the right way. You know,
established Premier League teams.
Yeah, they are
aren't
now because they've got a very good recruitment structure. They basically identify talent, play for a few seasons with them, and they sell them to Man United and Chelsea for millions and millions of pounds. But they are the blueprint or the benchmark, and that's the way. Rather, I mean, Nottingham Forest went in, and they basically bought players by the coachload, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
When somebody I saw when they first got promoted, there was a post on social media where it says the Nottingham Forest team coach, and it was like a 3-tier treble decker because they brought that many players in. But they stayed in the league, and obviously they're having a bit of a tough time at the moment. But shows you that there are ways it can be done. So the point I'm making, Matt, is I'd love to get promotion, but I don't want to get promoted too early, get annihilated in the Premier League, and then come down with lack of confidence, a little bit like Southampton did. But they're only just about their second worst team ever now. I don't want to be labelled like down there. Just a few more comments, Matt, before we give our opinions on whether, because there's some great ones. And I'm sorry, apologize. I can't. We haven't got time in the podcast to read out all the comments that you made. But thank you to everybody that took the time to vote in the poll and make a comment. But it is from Paul Kelly. Paul Kelly Bow, that's the handle. Sorry, but I see a lower part of the table finish unless, like we hope, we have a sudden turnaround in away form and goal scoring. Something that isn't quite right at the moment. So obviously Paul's talking about where we are right now. And you can see why that comment's made based upon, he talks about the away form. Lack of goal scoring, and as he said, we need to turn it around. Martin Howell says, if Kyogo starts firing, we'll possibly end up higher, than we are now.
Yeah. Again, valid point.
Fair
possibly,
enough.
Yeah.
And this is from Donna, regular contributor to the channel and commenter. Donna, tricky one, she says, because I don't think CD knows his best 11 yet. And I'd agree with that. I think he's still tinkering around. Feels a bit all over the place at the moment, square pegs in round holes. And I think that's, again, the team selection is sort of changing game on game, which needs to stop. But Chris Davis will get there, but once he knows who's best. Also, we are still over-complicating the final third, and our play is predictable. So I say bottom half of the table, sadly, but just not exploiting the talents of the players. They all look a bit lost. I think that's a fair comment, but because remember, in the post I said, based upon where we are right now, what people are seeing, I wanted people to be honest.
Of course.
So I think that's a fair comment. Do you agree?
Of course. No, I agree. I agree definitely with the part of us going forward and being predictable. And it comes back to what we mentioned either earlier or on yesterday's podcast. I can't remember exactly. It's that side to side and the horseshoe we get stuck in. It's like there's no options. There's no movement. How many times have we broke the press and it's back all stop?
Yeah.
It's so, and I think that's kind of what Donna's alluding to. It's that predictability. It's always comes back to our goalkeeper, and it's just teams. If you do your research on us at the moment, as your question says, at the moment we are too easy to read.
If I was Chris Davis right now in the coaching team, I would literally be working on that in terms of getting the players to provide options.
Yeah,
Chris,
and shoot.
Chris, I'm available for your next practice. If I'm only joking, but I think we've identified the to me, really hit home. In the Wrexham game, this tempo, that second half showed us what we could be with a bit of pace, dynamism, and tempo. We look like a completely different team,
bizarre,
but we've got to do it for 90 minutes.
That's the thing. It was bizarre to watch. The first half was all Wrexham, and the second half was all Blues. It was really like two different teams.
Yeah, I mean, at half time, I thought we were going to lose. When the half time whistle went, I thought there's no way we're winning this because we hadn't scored an away goal for like 4 games before that or whatever, and we played. Didn't pose too much of a goal threat in the first half. But then I think whatever Chris Davis said at half time, gave us a bit of hope, didn't it? Isn't it interesting? Sorry, Matt, I'm going to comment here. I want to get your thoughts on this as well, because this is from a fan from another team.
Okay.
This is Richard Taverner, Pompey fan, he says. So Pompey fan here. I think we'll be around, he said, I think that we'll be around the same position this year, then possibly playoffs next year. So he sees
for Blues and Pompey, or was that just?
So I'll read it out because obviously I've got that context right. Yeah. This is exactly, I've just copy pasted his comment. Pompey fan here, I think you'll be around the same position as us this year, and then possibly playoffs next year. So I think he's saying that he sees us maybe being pushing for the playoffs next season.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that's from a fan from another team. So
also, don't underestimate a consolidation season. Getting back into the Championship, settling in. And, if the playoffs don't happen or promotion doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. It's a case of readapting. Chris Davies finding his starting 11. We go through this process as a team, as a fan base over the course of the season. And you do push on progressively year on year.
Well, a lot of people use the word, Matt, in the comments, consolidation.
Yeah.
You consolidate this season. There are some fans that get upset with that and say, no, we should think higher. And yeah, that's fine. And I agree that. Let's be positive. But you've got to look at the reality as well. Consolidate, build, buy again, go again, and I think that's what builds you a solid team, and I think that's what a lot of fans are actually saying now, that, if we can have a good season, we can have a push, but as long as we're consolidating, that's amazing.
We're all for positivity. In the 18 months we've been doing this, I've only ever predicted one Blues loss.
Yeah.
And fair enough, we were in League One last season, so I know we were expected and favourites to be winning a lot of those games. But we're all for positivity. We're all for jumping on the hype and the bus. I get that, but also you got to be realistic here. This is the Championship. There's a lot of good. You're battling with parachute payment Premier League teams. You're battling with like your Portsmouths and your Millwalls and your Bristol Cities, your Prestons. They've been there for a long time.
Yeah,
Sorry, Pompey are now coming up, but there's some well-established Championship teams now.
They know the
teams
league.
coming up from League One are just as strong. Wrexham have come up with a lot of money and investment.
Charlton
are doing well.
Yeah.
So it's a very competitive Championship league this year, and in my opinion, personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with consolidating and then pushing on next season. As you said, what would be the other scenario? You push on, you're optimistic, and you go up and you get annihilated in the Premier League. Because we don't know what the ins and outs are around the financial position of the club. Yeah. So we could get promoted and not be able to spend as much as you might think.
I know.
It doesn't work that way.
I know, exactly. I think it's interesting. This has really been of interest to me, and what the Blues fans have said and why they voted. Because I'm going to read 3 comments out now altogether, very short comments, and then I'm going to get your opinion and on where you think we'll compete in the league and where we'll finish. So these are just 3 quick comments. I'll read them all out consecutively, and then we'll just have a chat about where we think we'll finish in the league. So first one's Robbie Michaels. Thanks, Robbie. Interesting that despite our indifferent start, we should be 5th in the league. Before the season started, I said we'd be 8th, still hoping to get into the playoffs. I think he's talking there about like the late Ipswich goal and obviously the points that we've lost late. Should have beat Sheffield Wednesday, all that type of thing. So okay. The next one, the handle, the keep right on 1875. I think despite the doom and gloom and past few games, I genuinely think we'll be in and around the top 6. Signs for me that it's getting better. Need to be positive and keep the faith and back the boys and the gaffer. Fair enough. And then the final comment I'll read, and there are others, but this will be the final one I'll read, from Dan Coffey, another regular contributor. I honestly still think a playoff push is possible. The season is still young. However, we only end up if we only end up in 10. I'm not gonna go wild. Less than top 10 though. Then questions have to be asked. So I think Blues fans clearly have got a different range of ideas and thoughts, and again, it is based upon what the reality of where we are at the moment. So it's interesting to see the different views, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So
it's such a difficult one to answer as well, Dad, because what Blues team turns up at the moment? Is it the first half Wrexham or is it the second half Wrexham? Because the first half Wrexham I see as a bottom half team, and the second half Wrexham I see as a decent above mid-table team. So at the minute, but that's the point, isn't it? At the minute, we are still finding out our best 11. Chris Davies is still testing, and we're still adapting. I get all that, but there are signs in there. Definite signs we could be pushing, I think, in and around the playoffs, no doubt about it. If Chris Davies gets it right, no doubt. But where we are right now, I don't think we're there yet.
We've got to score more goals.
How long is this going to take? Is this transition going to be a season-long transition? Is it going to be a month till Christmas? We don't know this. It's complete unknown. How long is it going to be until we find our stride and our form? I don't know the answer to that.
We've got to score more goals, Matt.
100%.
I know that's obvious, but what I mean by that, we've got to score more goals, because if we can get 2 or 3, it allows for the mistake at the back then.
Exactly.
It gives us a bit of a buffer. If we're just like edging games, it makes it a lot more difficult to actually get them over the line. And as we saw against Sheffield Wednesday, we created a fair few chances, 2 stupid mistakes, and they score and go in the lead. It's only last minute that we get there. We can't do that. No. So cut out the mistakes and find a formula to score more goals. Which I know Blues fans say, well, that is so obvious. Of course it is. I know, I get it's obvious, but that's what we need to find.
You say it's obvious, but there's no obvious solution just yet. So actually, it's a valid point. It's a valid. We all see it. We all see the lack of goals. We all see the lack of creativity. Will it come though? Do you think we'll start scoring goals?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
It will click.
No, I really do. I think we've got the firepower. I'd love to see Kyogo get his first goal, which I don't think will be far away. And also as well, when he's completely fit, is Marvin Duksh as well. Because what I've seen of him so far, he looks like he's intelligent. Yeah. I think he could end up being our number 10. I do. Okay. Our mainstay number 10.
Right, okay.
And don't forget, we've got Williamson to come back in as well. As long as he's played in number 10, he's fine. So, okay, all that said, Matt, right, it comes down to, based upon, you've heard what the Blues fans have said in the poll. So where do you sit then in terms of...
So am I giving a table area, or am I giving a specific position?
No, an area. So it's basically, we'll go with the poll. So you can either pick top 6, mid-table, bottom half, or relegation.
I'm in between 2 zones. I'm between top 6 and mid-table, so I'm going to go. I've answered my own question, haven't I? I'm going to go 8th or 9th.
Okay, 60. So that's 64% have gone for that.
Yeah,
and that's where I'm going as well.
Yeah.
I've said it before that. That
go on,
to me,
Dad. Let me squeeze you. Let me do a bit more of a position. Go on.
you want to go for actual
Go on.
finishing position?
Go for it.
I'll go for. You've gone for 9th, haven't you?
Yeah.
I think we'll be around that, so I'll go for 8th.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll be definitely
Yeah.
in and around that area, and that'll represent. I think that will represent a solid consolidation back in the championship. I know that Tom Wagner won't be happy with that. So if you are watching, Tom, sorry, but that's just what we honestly think at the moment would be a good season.
He's not silly, Dad. He knows what he watched in the first half against Wrexham. He didn't look happy against Sheffield Wednesday. He knows. He sees.
Yeah, he'll still want promotion though.
Of course he will.
He's a winner, isn't he? But that's okay. So that's it, Blues fans. That's what we think, And thank you so much for everybody who cast a vote in the poll. And it is, I think, it's a very good representation of where the Blues fans are. There's a good amount of people voted, and I'm guessing that the vast majority of the 500 were all Blues fans. So thanks for voting. So what do you think? We'd love to know your opinion on where you think we'll be competing in the table and where we'll finish this season. And add a comment below and let us know. As always, if you did like this podcast, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already, then pop along to our X page and our Instagram page. And if you like to watch or listen to your podcast on Spotify, you'll also find us on there. And you'll see the handles appearing on the screen right now for all of these channels. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you'd like to, then hit that big red subscribe button. And if you hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button, you'll get notifications every time myself and Matt put out a new podcast. So that's it for this one. Hope you've enjoyed it. Myself and Matt will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.